Hello.
Thank you so much for joining our first ever Healthathon. We'd love to have you, and the floor is over to you, and we will also allocate time for questions from carers, and we will be monitoring the chat throughout. So it's over to you.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone. I hope you're having a great day so far, and hopefully this session will link in nicely to some of the sessions that you've already had today and some of those that you're going to have later on today. As Ellie mentioned, my area of expertise is around sport and exercise psychology, but my specific focus and the area I'm particularly interested in is around promoting pleasant experiences in exercise and physical activity and how we can do that. So a lot of my research is around areas like flow, pleasure, and also in particular how we can use goals and motivational strategies to be able to promote those more positive experiences. So today, myself, and I know we've got Hayley as well, is going to come in later on to chat about her experiences as well. I'm going to give an overview of some key points, I guess, when it comes to being motivated for physical activity, and also how we can use goals and other strategies to, in essence, try to improve our levels of physical activity or to make our experiences more pleasant and more enjoyable. So that's really going to be the core focus of our session here today. When it comes to promoting physical activity, there's going to be three focuses I'm going to take here today. And I guess the key focus for me, and I'm sure for many of you, is the idea of engaging in movement and recognizing that movement of any form is going to help. So we know that there are the physical activity guidelines, and we know in terms of the idea that being active can be good for us. So it can be good for our physical health, it might be good for our mental health, and also there can potentially be some more social benefits to that as well, and some psychological benefits, such as that we feel our mood is enhanced, that we feel that we enjoy the activity, we have fun, and also that we might actually be able to connect with other people. But when we break this down, I guess one of the challenges that we often have is supporting people to be physically active, and also finding ways for physical activity to fit into our day. So I'm going to talk about three key principles that hopefully you can take something away from here today. It could be the case that you're already doing some of this, which is great. It could be the case that you just need to maybe make some adjustments to what you're already doing. And again, it's about the small adjustments that often can add up to get those larger gains as well. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the type of motivation that is important. And what I mean by that is that idea of our why. Why do we engage in physical activity? And the why is really, really important, because the reasons that we have for engaging in physical activity actually have an impact on our experience in the activity. They impact on the types of maybe psychological benefits or the mental well-being benefits we can get from physical activity, and also whether or not we're more likely to engage in physical activity in the long term. So I guess that would be a question I would ask all of you. Just really think about, why is it that you take part in physical activity? Is it because it's fun? Is it makes you feel good? Is it to de-stress? Is it to improve your mood? So just think about one of the reasons for that. Because the reason I ask is that activities that are enjoyable, that are personally meaningful and important to us, are activities that are more likely to sustain our motivation in the long term. So if we can think about the reasons and having a really powerful why for why we want to engage in an activity, we're more likely to continue to engage in that activity in the longer term. So if we apply that to physical activity, we can try to think about our why and trying to find ways that will make the activity enjoyable and important to us. And I'm going to extend on that a little more in my second point. And when we actually use motivational theory, the idea is that if we engage in an activity that we have more choice and control over, where we feel capable, and also potentially where we have some opportunity to engage in social aspects with others or connecting with other people. Those types of elements can really help to bolster our motivation and improve our levels of physical activity. And that's what we call having autonomous motivation. The three principles again there are that we have choice, we're engaging activities that we're capable of engaging in, and also that we feel we have that opportunity to connect with other people. On the other hand, if our motivation is what we call controlled, we don't tend to have as much success with that. So if you can imagine, let's say in a sports team, if someone is engaging in that activity because their parents want them to do it, or because they feel pressured by a coach, or to be there because of the team, that's not necessarily the type of motivation that is most conducive to promoting these positive experiences and ultimately to keep us wanting to re-engage into the future. So activities where we have less choice, where we don't feel as capable in them, and also maybe where we don't have those opportunities to connect with others, they're not necessarily going to be as helpful for promoting some of those mental well-being benefits and ultimately sustaining our motivation in the long run. So the key point from this is thinking about your why. And can your why link to some element of importance in your life? Can it link to enjoyment? Can it link to perhaps some of the health benefits that you experience from it, and so on? So make it personal to you, but just know your why. Why is it that you engage in movement? Why is it that you engage in physical activity? So your why, that's the first thing. And we want to try and have activities where we have choice, we feel capable, and also where we have that opportunity potentially to connect with others as well. So this is going to link on really nicely to my second point. And this is around the importance of feeling good and also having enjoyment in movement and physical activity. And, you know, we know a lot about the health benefits of physical activity. Many people do, most people do, I would argue. But yet we still have challenges in terms of the experiences people have. For a lot of people, they don't necessarily enjoy it. They don't necessarily have that feel-good factor. And there are lots of different ways that we can maybe try to change our physical activity experiences to help promote more enjoyment and to promote that pleasure. And why that is really important is that if we look at exercise and physical activity, often we talk about, I feel really good after an activity, or feel really good, you know, when I've done, when I've finished. But actually, what the evidence suggests is that how we feel during an activity is a much stronger predictor of whether we're going to be more active in the long term in comparison to how we feel after it. So if people feel good during the physical activity, they're more likely to want to engage in it in the long run versus those who only feel good after it. So that idea is that if we can promote those experiences that are pleasant during movement, during physical activity, that's more likely to encourage us to want to re-engage in that activity again. So if we can form those more positive memories of those experiences in physical activity, the better. So the key focus around this key point is what makes physical activity enjoyable for you? What might make it fun? Fun is something we often don't really consider often in adulthood, and something we typically associate with play and with children. But equally, is there anything that can make physical activity fun? And what can make it enjoyable for you? And, you know, again, this can be really, really personal. So there are some ideas out there around what might help. And I'm going to offer some of those here. But again, I would ask you to think about you yourself. What do you enjoy doing? What is it that makes an experience of physical activity enjoyable for you? What is it that you know, what helps you to feel good during an activity? But for many, it might be thinking about the intensity. And for a lot of people, when we get into that more vigorous activity, what happens is our breathing rate gets quicker. We might get a little bit of fatigue, soreness in our legs, arms, whatever it may be. So thinking there about, okay, how can we change the intensity? What's a feel-good intensity for me? So maybe think about, when you're engaging in physical activity, yes, sometimes you may feel, that you want to go for that vigorous intensity, but exercising or engaging in activity at more moderate intensities is okay as well. And that's still going to produce those benefits. But thinking about maybe more moderate intensity activities at times as well, that can typically help people to feel good. Think about also, your environment. Sometimes, you may have to think about exercises within the home. And again, that's something I'm going to talk about in a moment as well. So think about that environment. What would you like to have in that environment that might promote those experiences? Maybe you do have an opportunity to go outside to connect with nature, for example. But if we're in the home, what might we have there? And again, maybe, is it music? Do you like having some music on? Is there certain types of music, certain tempo, a beat that you might like with your particular physical activity? Again, if you like podcasts, is it that you like music that is of a certain genre? So thinking about that as well in terms of what are some other aspects in our environment that we can actually try to change and control to facilitate that more pleasant experiences. Another thing is to think about, do we like to exercise with others? So can we make it social within the home, for example? Can we work with somebody else, maybe via Zoom? So again, thinking about, can we make it social? If we're out, do we go for engaging movement with other people as well? And that idea that maybe it becomes a social activity, not just physical activity. I think that can be really powerful as well. If we think about it as well, there might be other elements. So thinking about, is it the time of the day? Is there a certain time of the day that you like to engage in physical activity or movement, or that it's possible for you to do so? And also thinking about, okay, do you like a structured program? Do you like to have something that's, quite specific, or do you like to have a little bit more flexibility about what you are doing as well? So there are some ideas around that. So think about, what intensity do you like to be active at? What are the kind of social ways you would like to socialize potentially with others? Also thinking about, other stimuli in the environment. So the music, nature, those elements as well. What can help to promote that pleasure and that enjoyment? So they're the really key things. So think about that question too. And the last point I'm going to discuss is around, how can we achieve our goals? And often when we think about, in a whole week, if we look at something like a number like 150 minutes of physical activity at moderate intensity, we're often, that can be quite a big number. And generally in life, we're often told to kind of think big. But actually, a lot of the time, what can be really powerful is if we think a bit smaller and we add up some of the smaller pieces along the way to be able to create that bigger picture and hopefully achieve those larger goals. So I think we don't necessarily need to, go out and run a 10K to get the benefits of physical activity. We can start small and we can engage in movement, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, those small bouts of movement. Again, it's about that idea that any movement is going to be better than no movement at all in a lot of those cases. And if we think about our physical activity goal, try to break it down into potentially more bite-sized chunks. So how can we break that down into maybe smaller bouts of activity? Sometimes you mightn't just be able to hit some of your goals when it comes to physical activity in a day due to other circumstances. And it could be a case in those instances that we think about, okay, let's just see how active I can be today. So we do a lot of work around different types of goals. And one of the goals that a lot of people seem to quite like at times is this idea of an open goal. So we don't necessarily have a measurable time and a point in relation to what we want to achieve. We just kind of say, okay, in this period of time, I'm just going to see how active I can be or see how far I can move and so on. So from that perspective, I think it's also important to recognize that maybe sometimes if we're not necessarily going to hit those larger goals, let's revise them. Let's make them, fit with the current situation that you're in so that you can achieve that goal. You can have that sense of achievement, and that's ultimately going to help you moving forward as well. So breaking down our goals into bite-sized chunks. So an example would be, I'm sure many of you will know Bradley Wiggins, and when he was looking to see how far he could cycle in 60 minutes for a world record, he broke that 60 minutes down into 5 bouts of 12. So 5 sets of 12 minutes, and he just focused on 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes. And by breaking that down into smaller chunks, that's helpful. So we can also think about that in relation to our physical activity. And again, in terms of hitting those goals, we also need to think about, okay, how can we potentially make movement part of our day? How can we actually, think about in the home, are there aspects that we can do? Do we need equipment? Do we not need equipment? And can we have them kind of in an accessible location, or maybe somewhere where they serve as a reminder as well? Do we like to engage maybe in exercise videos? Can we look at some of those that may be online? Lots of resources that you're going to have from here today as well. Think about, again, I was mentioning their music earlier, can you prepare a playlist? Can you have a playlist there ready to go so that you can use? So it's about thinking about how can we facilitate and help everyone to be able to engage in physical activity in a way that's not going to essentially require lots of effort to get started. And even things like, going into, if you're boiling the kettle, it's probably going to be boiling for a few minutes. Can you do some activities even during that as well? Some type of movement. And again, they'll all build up over time. So I'm going to move now towards speaking to Hayley as well. And I know Hayley will be able to share some of her experiences. But again, just to reiterate the 3 key messages is framing exercise is something you engage in because it's enjoyable and personally important. That's number 1, knowing our why and having that why. That's something that's very much about enjoyment, fun, hopefully, and personal importance. Number 2 is think about what helps to make movement enjoyable for you. And also number 3, think about those goals, and let's break down those goals and look at those bite-sized chunks of movement that we can engage in. So now, Hayley, I'm just going to come over to you, and I'd like to get your perspective on some of these ideas, but also maybe to share your own experiences of physical activity and your own reflections on these ideas.
Thank you for inviting me on. Hello, everyone. So I care for my husband and have done for 4 years now. And I have found there's three main reasons why I think that physical activity is really important in my day-to-day. So practically, it's because I need to be fit and healthy to care effectively for my husband. He's quite a heavy person, and I need to be a little bit strong in case he falls, so I can help him get up, etc. Physically, I feel fit and it makes me feel healthy. And mentally, I had a bit of a mental breakdown the end of last year, and I found that that exercise really, really turned that around for me, going to the gym. So it's more about my mental well-being. So mentally, it's about my mental well-being. It's about being social with other people. I go to a piloxing class, which is like a mixture of boxing, dance and Pilates, which is quite an odd mix, but it's great fun. And I get to stand at the back and look absolutely dreadful. And the instructor laughs at me quite a bit, but I don't care because I'm there and it's making me feel good. And I kind of took up running in the first lockdown. I don't like it at all, but it's like Patricia said, it's not about running a 10K. So for the last month, I've been running every day. And what I found challenging is my husband's actually in hospital at the moment. So I've been working all day, going up the hospital, trying to fit in eating at some point. And it got to the point where I was kind of thinking, well, I can't go for a 5K run. Not that I was initially anyway. So I decided that even if I just did 1K, that was still me getting out of the house just for 10 minutes doing a K run, and then coming back, eating my dinner and doing what I needed to do. So I just think it's really important. And I know that there might be situations where people can't get out of the house. I have an Alexa in every room. That is for my husband, actually, because he can ask it to call me. If he's fallen and I'm out, he can ask it to call me. But it's also excellent for really irritating him when I just ask it to play a random song. I can get it to play everywhere, and then I just have a dance around the living room with the dog. Just if I'm having a bit of a bad 5 minutes, I just get up and dance. That's kind of my experience, is really how I feel about physical exercise. And I know it can be hard to fit it in your schedule. But with bite-sized chunks, I think that really does help. Definitely.